Monday. What's up, everybody? Monday morning. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. Hope you guys are all having a great day and had an even better weekend. It's today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. So first of all, if you're here watching us live, welcome. Hope you guys had a great weekend. And if you're watching us on recording, do me a favor, click that thumbs up icon and leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear, those of you that are watching on the recording, I'd love to hear a comment down below. What are your trade plans for this week? Are you going to take it easy? Are you going to go hard after it? Are you looking for credit spreads? What are your trade plans for this week? So do me a favor, put those in the comment section down below. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure that you hit the like. If you're first time with us, welcome. Good to have you. So let's go ahead and get started. So on the S&P this morning, we had a live trade room last night, and I will say it was probably the most boring live trade room we've had in a really long time. There wasn't a whole lot to cover, and there's still not a whole lot to cover. So as far as the S&P goes, we had talked last night about the fact that the markets just weren't giving us a whole heck of a lot. I will say that above here, we may have a breakout candidate above this 3582, but I'm going to need some significant basing in order to make that breakout candidate a reality. I think that, we have one touch, two touch, and then this is not quite a third touch yet, and we're not basing close enough to the level for me to utilize this. But it is a breakout candidate nonetheless for an intraday trade, and it may not be a huge opportunity, a huge trade, as far as the best opportunities go. Looking at last night's price action from where we opened up last night, we opened up and traded up pretty much most of the evening, but it didn't really give us a good entry. I mean, I guess you could have taken the breakout trade here. If not the breakout, the retest right around, the London Open. For those of you that are on the side of the globe where you're not sleeping during the London Open, that was actually probably a decent setup overnight in a 15-minute, picture. Now on the hourly chart, I'd say that you do have potential above here, but your next supply doesn't come into play, strong supply, until up in this region. I would still say it makes sense to take some money off the table just before 3,600. As that is a clear area where we may see some resistance up in that whole round number zone. Nasdaq, very similar picture in the Nasdaq. This is the level we're looking at for a breakout above or below. And last night we did talk about this little 15-minute area where we could see a reversal. That was actually a pretty clean drop base, very strong drop. Price did wick into there last night and then get us a move away. Now, I will tell you, I didn't take this trade. Why didn't I take this trade? Well, because I don't do set it and forget it style trades when I cannot see the arrival into a market. I woke up this morning with the alert on my phone that price had come into the level, but for me, that level was not available. It was not a good setup. So, not sure if any of you were able to catch that one from last night's session. Some of you may have. And if you did not, please don't feel like you missed out on it. Is that level dead? Can I still use that level? Technically, that level is still a valid zone because we didn't break through it and we didn't trade 50% of the way into the level. So technically, that is still a confirmation short entry. I would say that if you do that, you're pressing your luck. I think you're pressing your luck a bit if you want to take a short off of this level because we're in such a sideways market. I actually am going to remove that line. I don't like it as much. You certainly are welcome to give it a go, but I am not as big of a fan of that particular position. Next, the Russell. So the Russell, we were looking at a breakout above this 1807. We came and touched it last night, which was pretty good because that was actually a good thing that we touched it and got a little bit of a pullback and a little bit of a move away. If we pull back any further this morning, I actually do kind of like this area in here for a potential reversal. Small level in there, 1792 by 1790 would be your area. Your stop would have to go probably about 1788 would be where your stop, which is below this little pivot here. I want to go outside of the area where there were orders. And then the Dow Jones, looking at the Dow, Still the same breakout area we talked about last night above 29,477. You got a bit of clean air to run you up to the next area of supply. You'd want to take your first target probably somewhere above this 29.6. Now, a question I had last night, which I think is worth addressing, is talking about stop losses on all of these positions. I know that I show these levels every day, and I don't necessarily go into, well, where do we place our stop and where do we place our target? And the reason I don't is, number one, I don't have the time to do that. I don't necessarily have the time to go through stops and targets and everything on all of these lines. And number two is that all of these stops still follow the same set of rules and criteria. So if you want to learn more about how we set our stops and what the rules and criteria are, go to Trader's Army, go under Learn, On-Demand Courses, it's Advanced Price Study. Underneath Advanced Price Study, you will find that there's a video called Setting Stops and Targets. So that would be where you would find that. By the way, we have a lot of classes over at Trader's Army. Feel free to explore. And then for those of you that are not members, keep an eye out. We got a Black Friday special coming up here soon. Black Friday into Cyber Monday. So, all right. So that's those are our equity levels. I'm going to share this grid so that everybody has this. It's available on the trade updates page at the site. All right. Any questions on the equities markets? I know there's not a whole lot to cover when it comes to equities markets today. But if you guys have any questions, please type them into the chat box in the chat window so that I can see as they go along. Outside of equities, let's move over to energies and metals on our commodity markets. So we talked about crude oil last night and a potential breakout above this line. We did get a pretty decent breakout above this line. Now, if you didn't like the breakout, you actually got an opportunity for the retest of the breakout, and price has moved up from that area. So the breakout was there as well as the bit of the retest. I'm going to remove this line at this point. If we continue to come back down, this is not the best time of day, but you still could get a retouch into this area here, 42.42 by 42.29 for a potential reversal. But make sure there's no basing in front of the level as price would come into that area. So that was actually a pretty nice little breakout for those of you that wanted to take it. The basing wasn't ideal, wasn't the closest of basing, but still, okay to take a look at if you were up and in front of the markets at that time. Once again, I was not. I don't believe that any trade is so important that I need to lose sleep over it, and so I don't. And I know that I'll find other opportunities throughout the day. Gold on Friday. I'm not sure how many of you caught our Friday gold trade, but Friday we had looked at this little wick over wick right here in gold, and it was a nice little touch and go move outside of the level. I don't have anything in my charts in gold today, and when I go to the daily chart, I mean, this just looks like it's got a better probability of price continuing to come down. So if I look at this and I think that price has a better chance of coming down, I would be looking to buy a put on gold if I'm trading the options, or just shorting the gold futures as it comes below that region. Longer term, I believe that's the, as far as a swing trade go, I think that's the picture. But I got to wait for the right price setup. Now we got a good one on Friday out of this sideways price action. But I don't know what I would anticipate as far as good price action going forward, because when I look at my quality areas of supply or demand, when I look for supply, this level here exists, but that's about all I can say about it. Then I got to look up and to the left. Well, this level here, we've already hit it once, and that was our move away from this area. So then I've got to look all the way up here. This is really my next area of supply that gives me any credence whatsoever. And then when I look for demand, I start at the current price and I look down and to the left. Oops. We come to this one. Well, this is a retest of this area here. I come down here. This area is a retest of something over here to the left that we can't see. So I don't have any super quality areas to lean on for reversal trades. And so I think without having some quality levels to lean on for reversal trades, I think that it makes more sense to look for a breakout trade inside of this setup. And we're looking here on the 4-hour chart, that's where I would look, is below that 1848. Okay, natural gas. We looked last night at nat gas. Somebody had asked last night about the potential for a gap and go in nat gas, and I was not a fan of the gap and go last night in nat gas. When we talk about a gap and go, we're talking about price getting above the first candle's high and then a stop below the first candle's low. Well, if you do the gap and go, you're in right here and you're already stopped out, right? We said we were not a fan of this because it did not fit our rules and our criteria for a gap and go position. We did, however, really like this area of supply. Price did come close to that area in the overnight without giving us a true entry. So now I need to leave that level on there, but convert it to a confirmation entry. And if price drops, I'm going to look to see if we get basing for a potential breakdown somewhere below here. But we're a ways away from that as of this point. And then copper, HG, we looked at this one last night a little bit and determined that if we come back down to there, that's probably your best reversal point on the 15-minute chart. So no real change from Friday. So for those of you that weren't trading last night, I normally say, listen, you want to get in on a Sunday night. Sunday nights are the best nights to look at the market, while they typically are. Last night, as Borat would say, yak samash, huh? Not so much. It was not the best opportunities. It was not the best market last evening, and we're really seeing a lot of that coming through today as well. And so, one of the things that I will say, and I say this a lot, I feel like a broken record at this point. If there's not a directional trade there, don't force it. If there's not a directional trade, don't force it. Allow the market to come to you. And what I see here is just not a lot of great levels that are setting themselves up. When I move over to ags, we did look last night in the ags market at soybeans and talked about a potential for a gap and go in soy, but you got to get above the first candle's high, which we've not had yet, and it's just chopping sideways. We talked about corn. Now, corn did get above the first candle's high, and our stop would be down here at the first candle's low. So we did get above there last night in the overnight, right at the London Open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles later, we've gone basically nowhere. If you want to stay in it, you certainly can. It's certainly up to you and your risk tolerance. I mean, we've got lots of room for price to continue to run up. And I like the fact that we had stalled here a bit. So that tells me that there's a chance we could see this thing run. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this next leg run up to 433, 435. But just be aware that we did get the gap and go move, but we've gone nowhere in that, right? So just play your stops accordingly. I certainly wouldn't add to the position out of an utter confidence. Looking at wheat, we are still waiting on our breakout in wheat. Nothing really of anything to talk about in wheat or in soybean oil. So in bean oil, we had a demand area here on Friday that the market cut right through that area. And then, as far as our next level, we'd have to be above these highs. And these demand areas were not able to get us new all-time highs, or new highs, excuse me. And so since the demand area was not able to get us new highs, that tells us that these demand areas are of very low quality. And I wouldn't be surprised to see price actually pull back a bit deeper before going higher. All right, let me share this grid. All right. Check the chat window. So Lennart, isn't that basing and even improving the odds? Are you talking about in corn, Lennart? Are you talking about this corn level that we're getting right here? And I apologize, I didn't have my chat window open. I was on my other screen. If that's what you're talking about, which I think that's what you are, it's helping to improve the odds of potential breakout. But I typically like to see those moves. When we get the breakout, I want to see those moves happen quickly, right? So basing before a level clears out quality, clears out the sell orders that we would expect then. Once that vacuum of sell orders exists, then price could move up quickly. So it doesn't increase the odds once I've seen the breakout occur. it actually diminishes the odds because it tells me there's not as much order imbalance as I thought there was in the first place. Because it always comes back to the order imbalance and where those exist. All right. So, looking at bonds and currencies. In our bonds and currencies, we're looking at the ZN first. And looking here at the ZN, we had talked last night about the fact that we were seeing our momentum to the upside slow down, and we were approaching an area of supply. And we did sell off a little bit last night. We had one big red candle tied up in there. I think there's a chance we could see a breakdown below this area here, and if we do, price could move a bit lower. That would correspond with the fact that our upside momentum is definitely weakening here. And if I want to confirm that weakening of the upside momentum, it would be that I'm getting higher highs in price. Oops, wrong drawing tool. Higher highs, higher lows in price, but I'm getting the same highs, maybe even slightly lower highs in my momentum indicator, right? So definitely seeing that slowing of momentum. And with that slowing of momentum, if we do get the reversal, it would be a breakdown below this 138 because it would be enough to put us to new lows, new swing lows. And so basing in front of here would be a potential for a breakdown. Regarding our currency markets, we looked at the euro last evening. We actually looked at a potential iron condor in the euro last night. We go to the 1 hour chart. We looked at an iron condor in the euro when it was sitting right about, where was it? It was here. And so we had looked at 195 by 175 as an iron condor, and then we rallied up through most of the evening. So if you didn't do the iron condor, you still certainly can if you think that we're going to stay in a range. I would just take your whole range and move it up a smidge to put you outside of these areas of support and resistance. So that's one. But if we do get a pullback opportunity, where's an opportunity on a pullback to get long? Well, this is a pretty nice expanded range candle that we could retest this area. I think that area is a fairly clean zone because it was a former area of resistance in the past. And looking at that area of resistance in the past would give us the reversal point in the future. And this is what we do, right? We wait for good setups, and that's a better setup than anything that we had yesterday. Canadian dollar, we've really not done a whole lot on the Canadian dollar as of late, and it's chopping sideways below our potential breakout line of 7671. Below that 76717 area, we would need tighter. This isn't quite the tight basing that I like to see. I would prefer to see this basing happening right here, right? It's still close. So it'd score, if we scored either a 0, a 1, or a 2, it would score a 1 out of 2, but not a 2 out of 2 because it's basing close to the level, but not immediately before the level. Those are two different things. And I know that sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but I am. And I do believe that it's important when looking at those to split hairs. And then this area of demand here, this 76494 by 76468, Kowal, I think that's the level that you maybe had just asked about, because once again, there's a little delay between your chat and when I see it. So that would be the area that I would look for as far as a potential reversal of price coming back into this region. We'd have to get a retest and then price moving higher. All right. Any questions on those levels? All right, let's go to our last one here. So New Zealand dollar. Now this one last night, we'd had a level that I thought was a pretty decent potential area on our fifth. Oh, you know what? It's a green chart, but it certainly should have been purple because it's a 15-minute level with that wick over wick. Even on the 1 hour, you can see a little wick over wick. We came into the level. We popped below it, and then we got our rally. Now, if you looked at this one, we popped below it to actually the area where the gap existed and traded even below the gap. So that was one of those ones where you've got a Sunday night Globex level, may or may not hold. In that case, it didn't necessarily hold, and then price continued in its upward momentum. We're still seeing the slowing of upward momentum, but it doesn't mean that the upward momentum is stopped, right? And so on a pullback area, still looking at pullbacks, that level that we had last night that cut through that little zone and gave us the reversal back into here still might be a decent area on a retest into this region here at about 694, but there's nothing I really am in love with it about. When I go out further and we take a look at a daily chart, I'm starting to take a look at this right here as our next line of potential resistance. Now we poked right through it. So let's see if we can continue to run. There is a little supply up above us that may act as our stalling point. And that's probably why we were losing momentum heading into this resistance, is as we were heading into that resistance, people were putting their sell orders in. And I know I don't normally go to a daily chart on this, but we've had such a big move up that staying long has just been the way to go. Now that we're heading into some more resistance over here on the left, and then even above that resistance, there's clean air all the way up to here. So you do have room to run if we can get through this next patch of resistance that exists right about there at about 6,997. So we've got to get through that resistance. All right, Great British Pound. So the Great British Pound last night, we looked at a potential for a retouch back into this level. We came close to it last evening, and we did not quite get in, just barely missed it. So I'm going to switch this over to a confirmation because the level's still good. It's that level is still standing. You could even have a bit of an example of a level on top of a level with this first area, this little wick over wick right there at the London Open as also a good area of opportunity on a reversal back into this zone. 332 by 3327. Let's see, Japanese yen. So in our Japanese yen, we had a little bit of sideways. Nothing happening here, just absolutely nothing. Could I have a breakout? Yes, but then I got supply above me. So I'm not really looking at much of that. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. There's not a whole lot else for me to add in there. Good question about alerts. When I place alerts, how far do you place them in front of the level you're looking for? I really just, for example, I'll just draw a line close. I'd love to give you a mathematical amount, but close enough where I'm going to see how it's approaching the level. So I don't have a mathematical amount for the alert. I just put it very, very close to the level because what I want to see is if there's basing. Leonard says, Corey gave another 4-hour zone for GBP. Was he talking this one down in here, Leonard? And I haven't seen it yet. Was that an update this morning? I'll have to go back in and check that. But there's definitely a demand area down in here at this pivot. Yeah, that would make sense. There's a demand area at this pivot. I was trying to stick to the smaller stuff for the ability to get in on smaller entries if you're looking for intraday opportunities. And then in the Aussie, so our Aussie position last night did actually come into our 15-minute level that we talked about. We had this little rally-based rally. Price came into that level in the overnight, and we got a really nice move away. So for those of you that were up and able to take that one, that actually worked out to be a pretty nice little setup. I'm going to remove this one at this point. And our next zone would be this little wick over wick right here, which I think is also still pretty clean. And also a 15-minute. Oh, it was Justin. Okay. Oh, it's significant. Justin knows his stuff. And he put that in as a video. So this level here would be our next one in the Australian dollar if we come back into it. I will say I'm a little less confident in this one than I was in this one, in the one that hit in the overnight. So if we come back into this one, just make sure that there's no basing. If we get basing anywhere below here, then you're certainly going to want to cancel that order. All right, so let me share this grid as well. Yeah, and there is definitely still a breakout on the Aussie above us if we trade to that upper area. All right, Okay, so all of our levels are posted in the updates page. If you guys want to copy those and get those down. As far as today goes, and for the course of this week, one of the things that I would say for those of you that are newer into the world of trading and you don't know how to trade these holiday weeks, don't trade. Just don't. Just take the week off. There's nothing wrong with that. I will say that there's going to be a lot of opportunities in this market, and if you don't trade options, why the heck not? You got to learn options. They're awesome because this week is going to be a good options week for those people that know how to trade options, and there's a lot to learn on them. But it's certainly a good thing to learn and to put into your repertoire, especially for weeks like this, because we lose a day and a half. Right? We essentially lose Thursday. We lose Thursday, and then we lose half a day Friday, and then we're not going to get a whole lot when it comes to Wednesday's price actions. So it's a good opportunity to take some time, reflect, learn options if you don't already know them. If you do know them, then certainly I think that we're going to see some iron condor opportunities. I'm going to look today at the SPX when the market opens up and see what that gives us on the 5-day. We certainly may trade the 1-day option as well as the 5-day options and just see what's available for us in that sense. Remember, we have keep an eye out. I'm gonna put a video out probably later this week. We're gonna have a Black Friday deal for those of you that are interested in becoming Traders Army members. We're gonna have a Black Friday special that you might really enjoy. And if you're already a member, we're actually gonna have something special for you too. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I can get that out later today. But I appreciate you all so much. Thanks for joining us on this Monday. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.